Hello, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of Our PAC Politics Podcast. Our podcast is brought to you by our organization, our United Resource PAC. We are a political organization. My name is Brittany McDowell, and guys, I am so sorry. This week, you were supposed to receive an episode on Wednesday. I was dealing with an urgent family matter, and then there was the holiday on Monday, so this is actually our first and last episode for this week. So sorry about that. Sorry I didn't give you a heads up on Wednesday. Really don't know what to say about that. But again, it was an urgent family medical issue that, as important as you guys are, family for me does come first. I definitely value family, and hopefully you understand. But in today's episode, on our one and only episode this week, I want to focus a little bit more on Mitch McConnell. In recent episodes, we've talked about, Mitch McConnell and Republicans in the Senate. And specifically in the last episode, we talked about Mitch McConnell's call for a pause, or as he says it, call for a pause. I get tickled pink when I said that. I can never say that enough, right? As detrimental as the call for the pause has been to America. But anywho, in recent days, this week, what we've had from the president is we've had a call for a bigger stimulus. Now, you might be saying, well, Brittany, didn't you tell us last week that the president was saying, hey, stimulus talks are off over my dead body? Well, he didn't say over my dead body, but in so many words, he's like, you're not getting a nickel, dime, nothing, because we're ending these conversations. Well, this week, again, the story has changed, and what we are hearing from the president, apologies for that, what we are hearing from the president is we are hearing a call for a bigger stimulus package. But the question I pose is, why, when we question what we are seeing and hearing from Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, why is he not on the same page as the president? Why does he appear to not want to see a bigger stimulus package? Well, the answer is pretty simple. It's actually something that I mentioned in the past, and I'm going to reiterate it during this episode. So sit back, this won't be a long one, and we will talk about what you need to know regarding Mitch McConnell and this call for a bigger stimulus package from President Trump. Yes, you did, in fact, hear me right when I stated that President Trump at this point is seeking a bigger stimulus package, like bigger in terms of the dollar amount being spent. He wants more than the $1.8 trillion that Republicans are, trying to get a deal for. President Trump thinks that we need to significantly boost the spending in our next fiscal stimulus package. But what we have heard from Mitch McConnell is a no. This is a no-go. This is not going to happen. Now, some people might say, well, Mitch McConnell, he's a fiscal conservative, and because of that, he is outright opposing it. While it is in fact true that Mitch McConnell is very, very much a fiscal conservative, that is not the basis on which he is rejecting the president's call for more stimulus, a bigger stimulus package. It all boils down to something that I've mentioned before, and that is the fact that Mitch McConnell cannot sell a bigger stimulus package to Senate Republicans. I mentioned before how what we are seeing in terms of the president and some of these Republicans, what we're seeing is infighting at its best. I think that it's leveled out a little bit, not to say that that the president and Senate Republicans are in agreement on things. I think that they are just doing a better job to make it less apparent. in terms of what's going on. They're trying to appear to be a party of unity when at this point, quite frankly, they're anything but unified. Because as much as some people don't want to hear this, and again, I say this as not just the host of this podcast, but president and CEO of our organization, a political organization that is not affiliated with Democrats or Republicans, which affords us the luxury of being able to openly say who was wrong, who was right, and sometimes it's Republicans, sometimes it's Democrats. But specifically, when you look at Donald Trump as a Republican, and I'm using that in air quotes, he's, in my opinion, a rhino, Republican in name only. But when you look at President Trump, he really has been the only Republican who has really done anything in terms of stimulus for the American people, with the exception of what we saw in the very beginning with the CARES Act, when we pretty much had bipartisan support for the legislation at that time. Since then, we have not seen really any Republican other than the president not just claim that they want to do something, but actually do something. Whether or not you like the president or don't like him, whether or not you think what he did was, legal or whatever the case might be, we have seen actual action from the president while we've been looking at inaction from Congress. Has he taken enough? No, but he has done some things that we have not seen from Senate Republicans, namely and specifically those Senate Republicans who are not up for re-election in this current cycle. From those specific Republicans, what we are hearing is, over my dead body, you are not getting one red nickel, dime, cent, penny. No, 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 unless you are a business or you're the stock market. We are willing to buy your junk bonds. We are willing to do everything you need us to do. But when it comes to the American people, no, none for you, no support for you, no help for you. But again, that is not the message that we've been getting from the president. That is not the action we have been seeing from the president. But going back to Mitch McConnell and taking this back to him and why he is appearing to reject the call for a bigger stimulus package. He knows that he cannot sell this to Senate Republicans. Now, I'm not going to say he can't sell it to all, because he can sell it to a small fraction of Senate Republicans, and those are those Republicans who are up for re-election in the current cycle. Those are the ones who recognize that if I do not do anything, that my constituents are going to be severely hurt. They are going to be severely impacted, negatively impacted by their own personal economies as a result of what's going on in the larger economy. And I cannot go back to my home, to my base, having done nothing for my people. Those are the Republicans who actually say that they want to take action. But even then, they are kind of at a crossroads when it comes to that desire to take action, given their the political influence that it would have. But then again, there's also the fact that, again, what do Republicans run on? Most Republicans, they run on being fiscal conservatives. So even that drive to save their political career is hampered by the fact that they have this appearance, or they claim to be fiscal conservatives. But so that is why we are seeing what we are seeing from Mitch McConnell. It is not, in fact, because he himself really opposes it, because we've heard, I say that you look at what a person does and not just what they say, but we really haven't seen much done from Mitch McConnell, right? But if we only have what he says, which I'm not going to place too much weight on, because again, you look at what people do and not what they say. If we look at what he says that he's willing to go along with whatever the president wants, essentially. If the president agrees to it, like, I'm down, I'll go for it. But again, can't really place too much weight on that, but I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. But he knows that he cannot sell this to his members. He cannot sell it in the Senate. And because of that, because he realizes we are, selling them on 1.8 trillion, was already just like I'm at my pressure point. I don't know if I can. This was already a tough sell. And even still, quite frankly, even at this $1.8 trillion, guys, I really don't believe that that this could pass the Senate. I really don't. Um, some people say that there's enough support to barely squeak this by in the Senate. I don't believe the support is there. I don't. You have too many Republicans who have openly expressed an unwillingness to help the American people, to help the American economy. And it's sad, but in the words of the president, it is what it is. And so that said, this is why we are seeing what we are seeing from Mitch McConnell. So take this into consideration as, again, some people might try and frame it as, oh, Mitch McConnell is this, horrible man. In a lot of ways, he is, in my opinion. In a lot of ways, the man, he should not be an elected official. But in the words of the president, it is what it is. And he is who and what we have to contend with in this moment. And in this moment, he does, in fact, recognize that he does not have the support within his party, within his chamber, to make this happen. I want to take this moment to address something. I've pretty much addressed what I wanted to address, which was the fact that Mitch McConnell cannot sell a bigger stimulus package. I don't even think that he can sell the current offer to Senate Republicans. But I want to address Pelosi here. She's another important figure in this equation. She's a very important figure in this equation, is equally important, if not more important, than Mitch McConnell. Look, you at this point have various people, including President Trump, blaming Pelosi for the lack of a passage of a stimulus package at this point. Before I address that, let me say this. I've said it before, and I very, very, very much mean it, that when I tell you that there is really not much that I agree with Nancy Pelosi on, there really is not. I am not someone who idolizes Nancy Pelosi. I am not someone who thinks that she is this, this perfect public servant. I don't. In my mind, and I'm just being very frank here, I think if Nancy Pelosi could be on the corner of some street in San Francisco, handing out drive-by abortions and doing them herself, I really believe that she would. I believe, and she'd wear one of those vagina hats while doing it. I was in the Bay Area when, President Trump got elected, and you had those vagina hats, but anyway, another subject for another day. But that's me. Now I'm not saying that she'd be laughing hysterically, maniacally while she's doing it. I'm not saying that, but I say that to say that I don't have this idealized view of Nancy Pelosi. She is not someone I'm even in the same, and look at, on top of her wanting to give out abortions personally herself, I really believe that if she could, she, would find ways to, help illegal aliens in ways that she probably wouldn't go so far as to help American citizens. Again, this is just my personal opinion of Nancy Pelosi. Now, I'm saying that to say this. While a lot of people, again, including President Trump, blame Nancy Pelosi as the sole reason why we do not have a stimulus package, I will tell you that she is not the sole reason that we do not have a stimulus package. Regardless of what you think about her, regardless of what you think about her politics, if you were honest with yourself here, you have to admit that she is not the reason we do not have a stimulus package. I mentioned before, the reason we don't have a stimulus package is because Mitch McConnell called for a pause when he did. And subsequently, as a result of that, we've ended up with a whole bunch of shenanigans. Had he not called for that pause, I think we very well could have been in a situation where if we at the very least didn't have a passed stimulus package, we would have been in a better position and actually closer and more likely to actually having the passage of a stimulus package. But that said, Nancy Pelosi is a lot of things, right? And a lot of those things, in my opinion, are pretty negative. But what she also is a politician who recognizes that state and local governments need money. And it's not just a matter of, oh, we need money because we have a poorly run state. If you ask me, is California poorly run? Well, yeah, it could be run better. Taxes way too high. I mean, ridiculously high. But at the end of the day, who pays for our policemen, our firefighters, our teachers? If the government does not have money, if the states and local governments don't have the money to pay those people go on unemployment. Who pays unemployment? If their unemployment isn't enough to meet their needs while they're looking for more employment, they may need other forms of public assistance. Housing, food stamps, medical coverage, especially if they can't afford, I'm telling you, it's a vicious circle, and I'm very surprised, and I'm very glad that I've heard other people talk about how this is all interconnected, because it in fact is. And she recognizes that. Why can we at least not, if we've got to help people anyways, if we are going to, if we're going to have to help people who typically get their checks from the government, who end up getting laid off and having to go on some form of public assistance, why not just help them when and where we can, and at least allow them to have some form of dignity in the process, not having to go on public assistance? If we can help it, why not? Nancy is not capitulating, and she should not. Now, are there things that she has wrong related to the stimulus package? I mentioned before, yes, I think she'll give out abortions if she could. She would also, give any and everything she could to illegal aliens. I absolutely believe it. I believe that, yeah, whoa, right? But here's the deal. There are some things that are wrong, that she is doing wrong related to the stimulus, that I think she has very, 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 very wrong. The main thing that I believe that she has wrong here related to the stimulus is the aid that she is trying to give to non-US citizens. That is an absolute no-go for Republicans. I think as we get if you look at the stimulus negotiations at this point, and you look at how they are playing out, it's very evident that the party who has more to lose in this situation is Republicans. And so for that reason, you may be willing to have some Republican politicians gloss over the fact that you are willing to give aid to non-US citizens. Personally, I don't support that. Our organization does not support giving money to illegal aliens. But just because she has this wrong, does this negate everything else that she is doing right in relation to stimulus package negotiations? No, it does not. Should we let the fact that she wants to give illegal aliens help, should we let that deter us from supporting everything else that she is doing right? No. Now, is there a point at which you have to say, look, you're doing too much, Nancy, you're asking for too much, and I just can't support you? Absolutely. That should be the case with any politician. But that's not where we are with Nancy Pelosi, because she is actually, for the most part, not totally, but for the most part, she's fighting for the American people in ways that we are not seeing from the other side. And, we've heard that she just wants too much. She, like, literally from a dollar amount perspective, she wants too much. There have been economists that have stated at this point in time, with what our economy is going through, what the projections show for the future, there is no such thing as doing too much. There's such thing as doing not enough, which is what we are getting from the other side. We want to, per the other side, take one bucket of water and throw it on a raging fire and be able to say, well, we threw water on the fire, that didn't work. We can't spend too much related to this pandemic and the economic stimulus that is needed as a result of the pandemic. We can't spend too much. That's not a thing. And so people who use that argument when they are talking about Nancy Pelosi and they say, well, she's looking to spend too much money. The national debt. Now, were we talking about national, I can't. I can't. Is it not amazing that only in certain situations, namely situations in which we want to help individual Americans, why is it then and only then that we talk about the national debt? Were we talking about the national debt when we talked about the PPP or the Main Street Lending Program? Do we talk about the national debt when we talk about giving aid to people who continue to live in areas that, tornadoes frequent, or people live in areas where there are hurricanes and then the government has to come along and give them, do we talk about national debt then? No, because it benefits certain people. Did we talk about national debt when we talked about, the president utilizing his socialized medicine to fight COVID-19? Did we talk about the debt then? So this debt conversation related to Nancy Pelosi and what she wants, it's just an illusion. It's an attempt to take your eye off of the ball, and you can't fall for it. Now, there is a problem here, another problem that I think that needs to be spoken to, related to Nancy Pelosi. She has been asked about the need for stimulus, and she's basically been pressed on not waiting until January to see stimulus. And that's because, quite frankly, it's becoming more and more evident to many people that we are unlikely to see a stimulus package passed before the election. I've been saying this for weeks now. I've seen the writing on the wall. I think that anyone who believes that we are going to see a stimulus package before the election, I think they are high on many narcotics. Seriously. That, or they just don't understand what's going on. And I get that some people are trying to sell you on hope and change and positivity. But look, this is the one of many few times that I want you to listen to the president when he says it is what it is. And I know that that's not what he said this in relation to, but it's definitely applicable in this situation. It is what it is. And what it is, my friend, is that hope and change is not going to get us out of this situation. Literally every second, every minute that we get closer to the election, your chances of getting a stimulus package passed are greatly diminished. But going back to Nancy Pelosi in January, again, most people who have their eyes open and their ears open understand that we are not going to see stimulus before the election. That said, if that is the case, which it most likely will be, that means that we won't see stimulus until we end up with a new administration, and new in the form of either President Trump being reelected, which I really doubt at this point, or President Joe Biden. But here's the thing: even if President Biden, excuse me, even if Vice President Biden was that sort of a some sort of a I don't know what that was. But even if Joe Biden, Vice President Joe Biden, see, I'm already like, it's on the tip of my tongue. Like, I just want to say it, right? Maybe in the words of the president, it is what it is. And I'm already feeling it coming on. But when you look at Vice President Biden, even if he gets sworn in as president, even if Democrats say in this very moment that this is about values, we're going to keep fighting for our values, it is not guaranteed that we are going to see a stimulus package. I think that there are certain, I've mentioned this before, conditions have to be right for us to see an optimal stimulus package. Here is my prediction. If President Trump retains his position as president of the United States, and if the makeup is the same with the House and the Senate, so Democrats have the House, Republicans retain the Senate, I do not see a situation in which we end up with a stimulus package passed that benefits directly average Americans. I think they will pass something, but it will be exclusively and only for business. And I think even then you're going to see a lot of pushback potentially from Democrats. But if things don't sway their way in this at the end of this cycle, this election cycle, I think they may be demoralized to really hold out and fight, and they may be willing to capitulate. If even for a package that only helps business. Kind of like, if the American people didn't help us, we don't want to help the American people. If we have a situation where President Trump is president still and Democrats have the House and the Senate, I think that we will see maybe a little bit more support for the American people in whatever proposed package we have. But I do think at that point, the fight will not be from Democrats. The fight will be from Republicans, angry Republicans, because they no longer hold majorities. If we have a situation where Vice President Biden is then our president and Democrats have the House and the Senate, this is, to me, our optimal situation in which we see a stimulus package that is most beneficial to the average Americans. This is a situation where we have a Democrat president, Democrats running the House and the Senate. That is a situation where we are more likely than not to get the best stimulus package that will directly help American people, that will probably include direct stimulus checks, unemployment extensions, so on and so forth. Even then, is it going to be, super duper great? I think it's going to be our best shot of our largest stimulus package. But again, we will have to contend with some things coming from Republicans. If we have a situation in which Joe Biden is the president and we have Republicans will not get the House, but if they have the Senate still and then the Democrats have the House, you're going to see some pushback from Republicans. They're going to, try and do everything they can to keep any inkling of progress from being made under a Joe Biden presidency. So our best hope is that Joe Biden becomes president and that Democrats retain the House, which I'm not worried about, but they end up Also, getting a majority in the Senate. I don't know if that is possible, but I do definitely believe that they are going to pick up more seats in the Senate. But I don't know if it's going to be enough to be a majority. So, that said, if you ask me, Brittany, are we going to see a stimulus before the election? Heck no. Again, I don't know what you're smoking, but we are not going to see a stimulus before the election. And I'm not just talking about actually getting one and getting your 1,200. No, that's not what we're not going to even see them come to an agreement before the election. What we are seeing at this point is I mentioned the infighting that we're seeing with the Republican Party, but we are also seeing both parties attempting to look as if they are doing their part to get a stimulus before the election. That is why we see, and I'm using air quotes here, you can't see them. That's why we're seeing continued talks. Is there actual progress being made? Heck no. Heck no. Heck no. Heck no. So if you in your personal life are budgeting around or planning around the receiving of a stimulus check anytime soon, I'm asking you very nicely to please stop. Do not do that to yourself. Do not do that to your family. Do not put yourself in that situation. While these politicians are trying to sell you on hope and change and things are coming and kumbaya, that's not what it is. It is what it is. And what it is, it's a nasty dog fight. That's what politics is. Nasty dog fight. Those who want to sell you on, oh, we're just out here changing the world and picking sunflowers and looking at the rainbows, they're high on a crack pipe. I don't know why I keep talking about drugs this morning. Oh my gosh, I don't even do drugs. Okay. Anywho, so don't expect a stimulus before the election. And even after the election, don't expect one immediately after. Because all I can say is it is what it is. It's fall, and you know what that means, right? You can find us on Facebook. No, I know that fall and Facebook have nothing to do with each other, but they both start with the letter F, so, according to my logic, perfect time to tell you about finding us on Facebook since it is fall. Isn't that exceptional logic? By my point of view, it is. Anywho, in the description box below, you'll find a link to our Facebook page. Check us out. If you like us, like our page, we'll be more than glad to have you. Again, find us on Facebook. Look in the description box below for the link. Hey, this is Brittany. Just wanted to shoot you a quick reminder. Look in the description box of this episode and you can find a link to our website. On our website, you can find our latest blog posts. You can find our contact information. You even want to make a contribution, you can go over there and do that as well. You can find out the policies we are looking at and targeting as an organization. You know, I say all the time that we are a tax-exempt political organization. If you want to know more about that, again, go on over to our website, our-pac.com, where you can find out everything you want to know. You can do everything you want to do. We will gladly welcome you on our website with open arms. Again, check out our website in the description box below. All right, guys, that's our show for this Friday. We will be back next Monday. Next week, hopefully, will be a regular week, barring anything from happening, right? And again, I will close with apologizing for the fact that we did not have a show on Wednesday. I did not foresee at all what happened with a family member. So that said, yes, Trump is calling for a bigger stimulus package, But it's very apparent that Mitch McConnell cannot agree to that because he simply doesn't have the support of his chamber. And while you were hearing, I do ask this. I ask that when you hear people attempt to place blame solely, now I'm not saying she's blameless, but when you hear people such as the president solely placing blame on Nancy Pelosi for the lack of a stimulus package, consider the fact that, yes, there's a lot wrong with her. There's a lot, wrong with, what she supports and what she's willing to give money to, even related to the stimulus package. But when you look at what she is standing for, she's actually standing for the American